Hey there! In this video, I'm going to be talking with the group, reflecting on random rolls and its maiden voyage. We're going to revisit some of the really fun moments and talk about things that worked well and some things that could use to be improved upon for the format. First off, if you enjoy D&D content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll get more of it in your newsfeed. And most important of all, thank you to everyone who joined us on this adventure. Your time that you gave us is a precious gift, and I thank you so much for joining us and being there through all of the glory. This concept is still very young, so please, if you have any feedback or thoughts, share it. Put it in the comments section below. I expect this whole format to change and go through many iterations. This is only the beginning. In fact, there's some things that the group suggests in this video that, who knows, we might end up using very soon. All right, let's get it started.
So one of the things that I really enjoyed was the how we got, because of some of the roles, we got pitted against foes that were well beyond us, and it was up to us how much we wanted to flirt with dying or just fleeing. And that was really fun for me, because normally when I play D&D, you're normally getting pitted against something that you have, at least some shot of destroying or defeating in some way, as long as your group plays really well.
What are you specifically referring to?
I guess specifically the Kraken and the horde of creatures that it vomited.
Okay. So about that actually was, if you guys recall, it was after, it was when you were fighting the harpies and the giant seahorses. That was, a big turn of events due to the rolls. And after that point, things started to feel just kind of wishy-washy. We didn't have a lot of direction. So then you guys started asking questions about what was in the crates. And you might recall that I was like, I have a concept. I haven't dug really deeply into this. And then I started to really ask myself questions about the story and go deeper there. So, spoiler, the Kraken was actually something that I knew was going to happen. You guys didn't roll for the Kraken. That was a way to wrap the story up at the end.
By killing you all.
And the thing is, your deaths have not been confirmed. Your bodies were not splattered. You saw a flash of light, and then you heard a voice. So,
yes, so very mysterious. I followed the lights, but maybe I'm not dead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, so that the Kraken part doesn't seem like it was random. That was going to happen either way.
Okay.
But the island, its inhabitants, the size, the island leader, if you will, that was random. Those events were random. Pretty much everything else on the island was random.
I guess on that same point then, the other, and I'm not sure if this wasn't random either, but the other thing that I really enjoyed under that same idea was the acid rain on the boat, because it was like, this is a situation, I can't stop the rain. But okay, what can we possibly do to maybe preserve the boat so that we don't all sink in the middle of the ocean and die? That was kind of, I enjoyed it was a rare challenge. It's not often you get put into a challenge in D&D where it's like, you can't stop what's hurting. All you can do is mitigate how badly it's hurting. It's gonna how much damage it's gonna cause.
Yeah. Yeah, the rain was definitely fun. I've never, as a player or dungeon master, dealt with something that is so, like you said, out of your control for a 4th level team. I mean, when you get to higher levels, you can control the weather, like if you're a druid.
That's true.
But in 4th level, and that was from the book. That was from the hardcover, rolling on a table that I made up of the environments that are already existing in the book. And that one was just, I remember when that was rolled. I think Nathaniel, you rolled that, and seeing that come up, I'm like, this is gonna be really, really intense. But let's see what happens. And that was my favorite. One of my favorite parts was that storm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But that's in terms of what I really liked. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
I guess the first thing that really comes to mind and the things that I really, really enjoyed was probably knowing, and I think that's more linked to the fact that I'm starting to know you as a player and starting to know you as a DM. It was knowing that all the NPCs that we were encountering were random. So I knew that you were limited in the amount of preparation that you could do for them. And so that meant that you were forced to improvise. And I actually am a very, very big fan of DMs who are comfortable with improvising. I've told Natty many times that as a DM, every time he's improvised in a game, it always ends up being my favorite part.
Yeah, it sure is.
You guys are more natural, you're having more fun with us, and it's a lot more reactive than us as a DM really putting up the facade of the NPC and internally screaming and thinking, oh my god, I have to get them to do that mission. How am I going to bring that into the conversation? How can I give them the clue without giving them the clue? Fucking roll a high insight.
Yeah.
It made it flow a lot more naturally, and I really enjoyed that because the interactions were a lot more genuine with our NPCs, except for
well, maybe Kepesk was very genuine with the fact that he really wanted to kill Martin. I hadn't dealt with someone who really wanted to kill an NPC that was supposed to be helpful quite as badly as Kepesk wanted to kill Martin. Multiple times.
I mean, in his mind, he's like, okay, this is a curse ship because we got a captain who's putting us in control of things that we shouldn't be, and we're all going to die. And maybe if I kill him, the curse will hit. I don't know, because I tried everything else. I tried appealing to gods. I tried I don't know.
And I think you rolled you rolled like a 3 or something like that on your religion check. So you were deeply convinced that Martin was the cursed focus on the ship.
Yeah, there was you had you wanted to do a religion check, and I was like, you should do an investigation check to try to figure this out. So we ended up doing both. You did a religion and investigation, and one of them was high and one of them was low, and so you were your understanding of something was true, but it was you couldn't quite link it up. So therefore, your bias was weighing in, and that was I'm gonna throw my bone spear at the captain of the ship and try to kill him. Definitely.
I lost in the ocean. God damn it! God.
It was definitely a really high stakes moment for me. I was just given my campaign over to the dice. But I mean, that's really what this whole random rolls is doing that. Just improvising.
I really liked the interaction with Kepesk and the captain, because I'm like, well, when we get to the island, who's going to be the captain of the ship at that point? And it's what exactly is going to happen here? And considering that the entire concept of the campaign was to go into it with very little prior knowledge of what was going to happen, being able to just go with the flow with something like that actually happening and not derailing everything would have been really interesting. I think in general, I really liked when kind of the random stuff really worked out super well. And that might sound a little vague, but I really enjoyed how right at the start we all got our random positions on the ships, and right off the bat, none of us are where we feel like we should be, but we have to deal with it. I'm like, all right, well, best of a bad situation, let's work it out this way. And it's I got to as Tracan, I got to spend a lot of time below deck, and I got to kind of experiment with the neurological effects of being a bird that works below a ship. I'm always frazzled, and I'm I just want to leave. And it's it's being able to approach the character from a completely different angle than what I expected I was going to when I went in was really interesting and pretty fun.
Yeah, some of my favorite moments in your guys' role playing was that how you all dealt with the obstacle of this is a role I am not competent or proficient in, and I knew that. Actually, I didn't know beforehand that it could become such an obstacle, but when it did, I immediately had regrets as a dungeon master, just thinking like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, they're not gonna have fun doing this. Because normally when you plan out a campaign, you're like, this person is much more intelligence focused, so I'm gonna make them be the navigator. This person is more strength focused, so I'm gonna have them be the bosun, so that they can prop things up the way they need to be. And those are the kind of strengths they need. But when that happened, it first was scary, but then it was so much fun to see how you guys went with it. Kepesk, flirting with Martin, Tracan, getting to know the ship and then meeting Black Salt, and Aapa using Banshee, more like Banshee, I guess, using Aapa. There was a relationship there that I don't know who was in charge, but it was like a sisterhood of sorts.
100% Banshee was.
Okay. Yes, I guess so. And how Banshee and Aapa still found a way to keep people in line and using your ideas to stir the crew into action when Martin shat the bed. So you guys did such a good job problem solving a really, at times, bad situation.
I don't know if we were solving, but we were surviving those problems.
Yeah, okay, fair.
We'll take some. We got all the way to the end. We made it to take them where we can get them.
You did. I mean, I don't know if you guys thought about it this way, but the orbs made it to their destination. And the people chasing after the orbs didn't get the orbs.
A win-win.
As long as your life wasn't really part of the goal.
I also really enjoyed, this is a bit more random, but I enjoyed as a fighter, as a monk, I enjoyed that fight with the harpies. I enjoyed being able to try out something extreme, like leaping off however high that boat was, let's say 30 feet high or whatever. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed being able to try to attempt to leap off and grab a harpy, knowing that I'd be hitting water and I wouldn't, from 30 feet, you're not going to get, how high did you need to fall into water to be able
to get damaged?
To really hurt yourself?
Don't remember.
Anyway, I did enjoy that because it's definitely also I think possibly the only time I've been able to try something that extreme and be like, I'm going to hit the water. And it's, I might belly flop and take one bludgeoning damage, but.
That was a really great moment. I was really very much hoping that you could grab the harpy, and then it didn't work out and was just,
And then I confronted the giant sea horses.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out all in the end quite well. You had a really gruesome moment, I'm remembering, of where you finished off a weakened seahorse, so you plunged your foot through its eye socket. And I just remember being like, wow, that visual. And then in your next turn, you struggled to swim because you had this seahorse stuck on your eye. On your foot. Yeah, it was gruesome, but it was a memorable moment nonetheless. So what do you guys think about things that could change, ways to improve this as a format? Because I have plans and I've started, basics of it. But what do you guys think? What comes to mind?
My biggest input on that would probably be the entire time we were playing through the regional campaign, it felt kind of... It almost felt like an episode of the week miniseries, which is totally fine, but as like a player, I didn't feel like I had too much driving force other than the fact that I was on a boat that I couldn't get off of. We didn't learn about like why we were actually... I forgot we were going to an island at one point for like 2 or 3 sessions, and I'm like, what are we... I'll kill some harpies. I would have. But once the orbs came into play, I was super into that because I'm like, okay, well, here's like a core concept I can kind of like wrap my head around. And I understand that the largest like appeal of this is like the random nature, but a little bit of kind of just structure just to drive the momentum forward, I think would help that a lot. Additionally, I think that this platform lends itself really well to puzzles and problem solving issues. I think the combat works equally well, or works really well as well. But I think that it's just the idea of, well, this could be anything, and we thought about it like on the fly, and go. And I just think that's really interesting, and it's something I'd like to see a lot more. Personally, though, I like playing D&D for the problem solving aspects a lot, so that could just be me. But I think it's still a pretty good idea.
Can you give me an example of the problem solving?
So a good one would be the boat was on fire at some point, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, we have to stop this. And the immediate idea would be, all right, well, person who fixes the boat, go fix the boat. People who deal with the crew, and someone else fight. Or whatever the situation may have been. But if we actually just went along with that, we would have sunk. Because I was fixing the boat, and I think a panther was ordering around the people. And I'm like, well, maybe we swap here a little bit, and like we do some I can't think of the word. We do some stuff. I can't think of the word.
Mixing of roles?
Yeah, we mix it up a little bit. We come up with a solution. We smash our heads together, and now the boat's not on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Or the puzzles, I think, would be cool. Like if we had more of the I don't know how this really would have worked in the first campaign, considering we were on a boat the entire time. But something akin to like the orb puzzle at the end.
Mm.
We didn't end up getting that, which is fine. But cool stuff like that, I think it's really neat. Additionally, I'm just gonna keep going apparently. My one last point would be I think that the medium in and of itself lends itself really well to kind of like a if you don't want to go for like a central driving point kind of thing, it works really well as kind of like almost like an Acquisitions Incorporated style thing. Where it's like you're a team of adventurers hired by a thing to go do multiple jobs in places.
Right.
And maybe in 2 or 3 days or whatever. And then you come back and you get a new job. And maybe there's a central plot that's kind of like propelling that forward towards an inevitable conclusion. But it could be really interesting to see like just multiple like away missions.
Yeah, that is something that I'm realizing more and more. It's hard to do a medium or short-term length campaign with random rolls. I mean, we tried that and that, it worked in some ways, but it worked more for the day-to-day, the, session to session kind of stuff, not the overarching campaign, I felt like. And using it for side missions, like, all right, you get a mission from so-and-so. They need you to do something, and you're going to go to this place, and on the way there, this is going to happen. And when you get there, there's a twist. So you roll on all of those points and many others in between, and then you can even roll on like NPC reactions and who these NPCs are, what they look like, your rewards, and how like the monsters react to you, things like that. So I agree, it would be great as a side mission thing. And it's funny you bring up Acquisitions Incorporated because, yeah, there's the C team. They often will get these missions in the mail that are part of the larger story arc, but it would be so easy to just weave in a little bit of story into something very random.
Yeah, I think I agree with Ryan on that, and I think that indeed the one thing that we were truly missing was a powerful drive for our characters, because in every campaign there's going to be moments where some characters are having more fun than others. I'm going to take the example of Critical Role here, when in the first the very first campaign, where Grog as a barbarian is not an intellectual, and so whenever there's really extensive discussions about a plan or about who could be what, and maybe that's this person and this guy who used that spell. He's always sitting on the side and grunting and letting people know that he wants some action.
Right.
But he sticks with that group because they have a higher goal. They have a higher cause that they're all fighting for.
Yeah.
And I think that was the one thing that we were potentially missing, is that we kept getting those random missions here and there, those random problems, but at the end, I just the same as Ryan, at some point I completely forgot that we were going for an island. And as I want to be as true to my character as I can, and at some point I was like, why the fuck would my coast ranger stay on that boat?
Mm-hmm.
My panther is gonna get seasick at some point, or she's gonna start eating the crew. I don't know, but like, what are we doing here? Why am I helping those people other than the fact that they told me to help?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much a suspend the reality of this fictional world for just 5 days. 5 fictional days until we get to the destination. So that character motivation, yeah, such a good point. And I agree that it would be a great thing to have found some way, just incorporate it like any normal campaign. Like any normal campaign incorporates each character's motivation, finding a way to do that. So it's not all random.
Even if that was just you sending a general brief at the beginning when we were designing our characters, telling us, okay, you're free to do all those races and any class you want, and you're this level, but I need you all and your backstory to include just one thing, is that your number one goal in life, what drives your very essence, is that you want to get to that secret island that you've heard legends about.
Oh, so making it mandatory for each person. I see. Giving everyone that common hook.
That would be one way of going at it.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it would, yeah.
Another way would be if you wanted to take an example from, say, like the Adventure Zone, where they're effectively 3 different characters all hired for a thing or whatever. And if you look at the actual like aspect of the thing, they're hired by this big company, effectively go out and get these little objects.
Mm-hmm.
If you just keep the point of there's this large entity that's sending you to get this one central thing, everything else surrounding that thing could be random.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they go to a cowboy town, or they go to the Underdark, or it's on a boat, or in space. It doesn't matter. The point is, I'm going here because big entity told me to get this stick. And that's a driving force. And the rest of it can be anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stories like that have collect the 7 artifacts and bring them back so that they can be combined into the one artifact to protect our realm. Yeah.
It's broken down into the core concept of an action and like an item. It's get thing, but it could also be find person, kill enemy, raise city. It could be anything. And it's just like, as long as you have these 2 core, like a thing I'm doing and what I'm doing it to, in the entire setting, and the rest of everything you interact with could be completely random. And that's just an idea.
That's a great point. I mean, part of this is having randomness in so you like, I use the image of like you have a structure, like a large skyscraper, and every floor is a different chapter of the story. But in each floor, there's so much chaos and randomness. But each floor has its purpose to get you to the top of the skyscraper. So yeah, it's a great point.
That's my main. These 2 are kind of already covered my main thought as well. Just that need and want for a really compelling reason.
Yeah,
needs and wants to be, because I mean initially it just felt, and it like Kepesk wouldn't have gotten onto that boat, I guess, or at least not for the reasons that were given, and so it just meant that I had this conflict role playing. Because for me, I understand for other people, Dungeons and Dragons, the role play isn't really much of a thing for them, but for me, it's the role playing is the majority of the fun. And so when I was with that situation, when I was like, Kepesk couldn't be here, but I feel like I have to be here for the sake of this randomly rolled thing. It made it less fun for me. But I agree with the suggestions that both Jade and Ryan have made that would completely bridge that gap and solve that problem.
Yeah, I definitely felt like there was a point where I was keeping you guys hostage on this ship, and I was like, wow, 5 days is a long time to keep you guys on this ship. Shit, wish it was 3. But
a really interesting story point itself, where it's like you all awaken captured on a ship.
Well, if that was the case, Kepesk would have definitely killed Martin.
Oh yeah.
I think for me it was probably, but then again, I think it depends on everyone's preferred aspect of D&D. And for me, it was a mix of the first really enjoyable point was when I was starting to feel like my character was building a relationship with the NPC who was assigned to her.
Iggy.
Yeah. Because I do enjoy that. I do enjoy when the interaction with the NPCs is not just give me the information I need and then I forget about you, or are you friend or foe? I enjoyed that he had that secret wound of being the runt of the litter, and that I could relate to that. And the second one would definitely be when we started getting into those orbs. Because then I felt engaged. I felt, ooh, there's something to figure out. There's something to drive us. Now we're all curious about this, so at least we can collaborate on that. I felt like for one of the first times we worked a lot more as a unit than individual characters.
Yes, once you guys had the orbs, there was definitely more of a common goal for sure. Okay. Ryan, what about you?
I think that I also really enjoyed the orbs. I thought that it was exactly what I was looking for pretty much. It's like, all right, well, here's this thing that I can materialize and I can fiddle with and I can give reason to effectively. Other than that, I actually really enjoyed the opening scene in the tavern. I thought that was really cool with all of the kind of character buildup and just like this neat little town, followed by the three-way fight with the previous leaders of the ship. I thought that was really interesting. I enjoyed the fire and the acid rain. I thought that was cool. Those are probably my big ones. The harpy fight obviously was really neat. Being like our effectively big like combat of the campaign. Out of all of those though, I think I would pick the orbs for the obvious reason, and then the initial tavern scene, which I just thought was really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, there's definitely some fun, I think, in that first tavern scene. I mean, you getting that guy to sit down through friendship and all, and just kind of cunning was, I'm never gonna forget that moment of like, why are you like, you want to have a drink with him, like you're gonna have to fight him at some point, and then you just have him take a seat on the ground, and I was like, oh my god, it was great. It was good.
That was brilliant.
It was.
Yeah. That the bar fight was really fun. I enjoyed that, and I think the bar fight, and then just the other part that I equally enjoyed was actually nothing to do with our role play, but more what you did as a DM with the Kraken, and just describing. I can't remember exactly how like we heard noises and then we ran out and then we saw the ship being absolutely just squashed. But that moment and then the way that you described it was so entertaining and dramatic. And I could tell that you were having so much fun too. Yeah. And that meant that was infectious. Yeah, that was a pretty incredible moment. And just describing how its inverted anus head kind of like squelched open, and then like all these things ran out. Like it was just really, I loved seeing. It was really, really fun hearing you describe that and describing that situation.
Yeah, your guys' reactions describing the soldiers that came out of the Kraken, the juvenile Kraken, and then the just every one of you three had very different ways of dealing with this. Kepesk wanted to go out in the water and throw some darts at one of the tentacles, and that's when you hit it and you were like, yes! And then the tentacle's eyes open and its mouth opens and starts to go towards you, and your face, Nathaniel's face, was just like, oh. And you're just like, I'm just like, dash, step of the wind, dash action, and you like out. It was a really great moment as a DM. Just your guys' reactions to the juvenile Kraken slowly coming onto the island was fueling me to continue with that flavor. And I loved it. Definitely a highlight for me as well was that experience. I know that it was, not a winnable situation necessarily for the players, but it was certainly something I haven't actually had the pleasure of doing as a dungeon master, of giving players such an overwhelming obstacle that they cannot defeat and seeing how they handle it. And
really? Even with darts?
Yeah, I think it's like a challenge rating 9, but with 50 of those soldiers, it's that takes it way up. But,
Really? It's only 9?
We could have taken it.
That's a juvenile.
Ah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. The bigger Kraken was kind of from the book, but not really. It was more of just my own creation, because normally Krakens, they can vary in size, but that Kraken was hundreds of feet long. So it was Umberly. They're something else. And maybe you guys will learn more about them at some point. But right now, they're just big.
They're just big.
But yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks so much for being a part of that. Honestly, I knew it was going to be weird and random, and I was very curious to see where it would go. Yeah. But I was really grateful that you guys went along on that journey with me to test it out. So thank you.
Thanks for bringing us along.
Yeah. So, what are you guys doing for the rest of the day? Again, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. If you have any thoughts or feedback, please put it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to read it. As always, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. That way you can stay up to date whenever we have more content coming out. And that pretty much wraps up Random Rolls, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, the beginning experience of this format. Until next time, I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week. Take care.